Car tester Michelle Assenmacher says the new Q2 also lives up to Audi's advertising slogan, Vorsprung durch Technik, which means advantage through technology. For example, the traffic jam assistant familiar from the Q7 is available as an extra in the Q2. Audi has quickly incorporated its luxury class driver assistance in the compact class. The Q2 expands Audi's Q family to include a compact SUV. It combines youthful charm with luxury class technologies. It even has a virtual cockpit. Its angular exterior is attractive. Overall, the Q2 presents itself as a sporty city and leisure car. The Q2 is a lot of fun on these curvy country roads, says Michelle, but when she accelerates, she misses the thrilling feeling of being pressed back into her seat. The car may not accelerate powerfully, but it does move fast once it hits its stride. We're testing the Q2 with the 1.4-liter 110-kilowatt gasoline engine and the 7-speed S-tronic automatic transmission. The SUV launches from 0 to 100 in 8.5 seconds and reaches a top speed of 212 kilometers an hour. Our test car with the S-Line exterior package costs about 29,090 euros in Germany. The polygon design is new for Audi and is planned to remain unique to the Q2. The front is dominated by an elevated single-frame grille with an octagonal design. The roof, gently sloping to the rear, looks very sporty. The most striking design feature is the differently colored blade at the C-pillar. The trunk has 405 liters of space, very small for an SUV. The Q2's interior is elegant, unsurprisingly. Along with the polygon design, the interior seems minimalist and has a clear layout. The buyer has a choice of several colors for the trim strip and the decorative seams. At 4.19 meters in length, the Q2 cuts a good figure on country roads or in the city and offers impressive in-car connectivity. It can be ordered with its own SIM card, turning the car into a Wi-Fi hotspot. Michelle was enthusiastic about driving the Q2, but she is not so thrilled with the back seat. She's 1 meter 68 tall, so it's big enough for her, but not for someone much bigger than her. And the trunk isn't exactly spacious either, but that's not what the Q2 was conceived for. The Q70 is Infiniti's flagship sedan. Infiniti is the top-range arm of Japanese automakers Nissan. The Q70 first went on sale in Germany in 2010. With its economical 4-cylinder diesel engine, this sedan has got its sights set on the German business class. So how does the Japanese premium sedan perform? We're going to find out. Car tester Ronnie Levstek says the Infiniti Q70 is great for long distances. The double glazing greatly reduces exterior noise. The 2.2-liter diesel engine is quiet too, except when the engine is still cold. Ronnie says that for the first few kilometers, you hear a deep humming noise, but it's not dramatic.
Für mich ist das jetzt nicht so dramatisch.
Our test car has a 2.2-liter diesel engine. This is the bottom-of-the-range engine for 4 cylinders. Previously, the Q70 was only available with a V6 diesel engine. The common rail 4-cylinder engine is considerably more economical and harmonizes well with the standard automatic transmission, though the transmission doesn't always manage to change gears smoothly. Ronnie says that under the hood, the Infiniti Q70 is a real money saver. That's down to the fact that this 2.2-liter diesel engine is made by Daimler. It was incorporated into this vehicle especially for the European market, but with the vehicle weighing around 2 tons, he says this 125-kilowatt engine feels slightly underpowered. The Infiniti Q70 excels with its distinct design. Thanks to a bigger radiator grille and redesigned headlights, the Q70 cuts an even more imposing figure than before. Its roofline resembles a coupe, and at the back it ends with an overhang over the trunk. Overall, it has sleek, rounded lines. In the car's interior, Infiniti pulls out all the stops in a bid to live up to its upscale image. It takes a bit of time to get used to the host of buttons with tiny inscriptions on the steering wheel and dashboard. Fewer switches would be preferable, but the sumptuous bucket seats and the heated steering wheel are a real joy. Our car tester says he first checks out the sound system when buying a new car. The Infiniti Q70 has a Bose sound system. A good thing in itself, says Ronnie, but more unusually, the speakers are built into the seats. The result? He feels as if he's in a concert hall. Thanks to the partnership with Daimler and the related downsizing, this diesel model of the Q70 can now be bought for 8,000 euros less than its predecessor. In Germany, the sedan's list price is 44,500 euros. That's about how much you pay for the basic version of the Mercedes E-Class, which has an identical engine. But you get more fixtures and fittings with the Infiniti. Many features that you usually have to pay extra for, like LED and adaptive headlights, come as standard. Mercedes presents the Urban E, the first completely electric truck. In recent years, electric motors have made great strides in terms of cost, power, and use life, so that now even a 26-ton transporter can be electrically powered. Mercedes says the truck's range is 200 kilometers between charges. Volvo is replacing the V70 with the V90. The 4.94-meter-long station wagon uses scalable product architecture and has little in common with its predecessor. The entry-level Model D4 with a 140-kilowatt diesel engine will cost 45,800 euros in Germany when it's released in November 2016. Normally, municipal buses in Amsterdam, Holland park in this terminal when they aren't in use. But today, it's the venue for a look into the future. The Mercedes-Benz Future Bus shows how the automaker envisions public transportation in a few years. The Future Bus, based on the current standard Citaro model, is full of surprises. Automotive journalist Mattes Kurat is a little nervous to see that the driver doesn't have his hands on the steering wheel. Daimler's project manager Peter Schumacher says there's nothing to worry about. The Future Bus with City Pilot is automated. The driving can be left up to the computers, but the driver is still responsible for ensuring that everything operates correctly. So the driver will not be eliminated in the short or mid-term, asked Mattes. The computers merely make things easier for drivers in city traffic, which can be monotonous and tiresome when you drive the same route every day. That's right, says the Daimler representative. The system makes routine activities easier, but also supports the driver in dangerous situations. GPS data, along with information from sensor and camera systems, give the Future Bus a precise picture of its surroundings, so it can drive safely from one stop to the next. We're approaching a stop, says Mattes. So the bus locates the curb and the bus stop and can come to a halt all on its own? Exactly, says Schumacher, who points out that the bus also registered that the traffic light just before the bus stop was green and that it didn't have to stop. Now it's locating the curb at the bus stop and is stopping just centimeters from the bus stop sign and automatically opening the doors.
Vor dem Haltestellenschild und öffnet dann automatisch die Türen.
Matas asked the driver what it's like to supervise a self-driving municipal bus without lifting a finger.
Wie fühlt sich das an, wenn man eigentlich hier Linienbus fährt und gar nicht richtig fährt?
The driver says it's like being Scotty in the spaceship Enterprise. Cool. He doesn't have to do anything. The bus does everything itself. It feels even safer than if he were driving because he can see everything that's happening. He sees when the bus recognizes the traffic light or other vehicles and how the bus responds. The driver says it's a great feeling.
Und mein Fahrzeug eben darauf reagiert, also es ist einfach, ja, schön.
Monta says it's like a pilot who takes off and lands but leaves the rest to the plane.
Und von der Startbahn zum Terminal, oder?
The driver agrees. A driver can't keep his eye on everything, but the bus can. As soon as a person or other obstacle poses a risk, the bus stops. It continues again when the path is free.
The systems work 24 hours a day and they support the driver. So I would say to the 2 eyes of the driver, we add 20 eyes of cameras, of radar and everything. This is one important thing. Also important, the driver is always monitoring the system and he always can react. This is very important in this phase for the next 5 years. The next thing is economy. The bus is braking, accelerating and shifting gears autonomously. So that's much better for the fuel efficiency of the bus. And the third thing is comfort. The driver can concentrate on the main task, watching the traffic. And also for the passenger, it will be much better because it's a much smoother ride.
It's a bit trickier when the GPS signal is blocked, for example, in a tunnel. But here, too, the technology is already advanced enough that the driver doesn't have to intervene. But automatic driving isn't the only pioneering aspect of this vehicle. Monta says he used to like to sit at the back of the school bus with the cool kids. Today, he's sitting back here with another cool guy, Matthias Lenz, the designer of this future bus, whom he asks about the bus's interior design.
Innenraum an bei der Gestaltung dieses Zukunftskonzepts.
The designer says his team wanted to try out some ideas for the interior of the bus of the future, like the bench the two are sitting on. Matthias Lenz agrees that young people like to sit at the very back of the bus. And here, a seating area is arranged to make it easy to converse. The interior of the future bus has been made roomier, so that passengers aren't crammed together. Being crowded doesn't encourage communication, except young people in the first flush of romance. Matas notes that the seating isn't the only design innovation here. What about the ceiling?
Speziell designt, sondern auch die Deckenarchitektur. Was hat es denn damit auf sich?
The designer says the idea was to make the bus like a mobile park. A park is where city dwellers go to rest and charge their batteries. And here, in the future bus, the ceiling is divided into a painted area and an area upholstered with fabric. So the architecture is hard, the fabric is soft, like a park, and then there are these green decorations, and these light panels that illuminate the handrails in some places. So far, the future bus is permitted to drive itself only on a stretch reserved for buses, but here, at any rate, it impresses the passengers. This woman says the bus is great. It doesn't tire out the driver. She thinks it has advantages.
Ja, ich glaube, dass es Vorteile bringt.
This man is astounded at how technology has advanced and that a bus can do all this on its own. Another man says the technology points the way to the future, but still needs a lot of work. It's a good start. In fact, it's already surprisingly advanced, says this man, but real life will still present some difficulties that need to be worked out. It will still be a few years before self-driving buses can be trusted in heavy city traffic with all its imponderabilities. That's why here, where the normal street begins, the passengers have to disembark and wait for the next bus with a human driver. Practical and reasonably priced cars that appeal to a broad market are commonplace. One of them is the Seat Leon ST, which is both functional and stylish. It's rare to find alternative power systems such as hybrid technology in this price category. The Seat TGI runs on compressed gas and gasoline. Car tester Andre Zimmermann says many drivers like to give it some gas, but that has its price. Diesel and gasoline are quite expensive these days, and it's also not good for the environment. But you can save money and spare the environment if you give it gas in another sense. And this Seat Leon, which runs on compressed natural gas.
Sehr viel umweltfreundlicher und das tut dem Portemonnaie auch nicht so weh.
The combustion process is not very different in technical terms. Instead of gasoline, the compressed gas is mixed with air via magnetic valves and ignited in the cylinders. The price of this additional technology, including the compressed natural gas tanks, will set you back around 900 euros. You emit 40 grams less of CO2 per kilometer than when you're driving on gasoline. But before you rush out and buy one, Andre recommends making sure there's a natural gas filling station in your neighborhood. There are currently over 900 in Germany, which might sound like plenty, but on long journeys, he advises you to also check whether there are natural gas filling stations on your route. But you also have a 50-liter gasoline engine to fall back on. The natural gas tank and gasoline tank together would give you, in theory, a range of over 1,000 kilometers.
Hätten wir eine theoretische Reichweite von über 1.000 Kilometern.
Filling up is easy and completely safe. On the Leon, the gas filler opening is right next to the opening for gasoline. You insert the pump nozzle, which is locked into place by a lever, and then press the button. The filling process can't start until the pump has been securely attached. When you're done, switch the gas supply off, unlock the pump, and pull it out. Next up, Andre's going to test just how responsive a car run on natural gas is. Well, it's hardly a racing car, he says. It accelerates nicely. The only difference that he can spot is on the speedometer. A green CNG symbol lights up when he switches to natural gas, but he says there are no disadvantages in terms of driving comfort. Thanks to its bi-fuel technology, the Leon TGI is an environmentally friendly alternative to the conventional gasoline-driven car, and you don't have to worry about limited range. And in the long term, you will save on operating costs. The TGI cockpit looks quite normal, apart from the fact that it has 2 fuel dials. Andre would like to see more cars run on compressed gas. They cost less in the long term, they're environmentally friendly, and they don't compromise much in terms of practicality. Andre acknowledges that the gas tanks under the car cost about 100 liters of luggage space, but he doesn't really notice the difference. The trunk still has a nice, big loading surface. The Apollo 3500 GT is a sports car with southern flair. Its lines were inspired by the iconic cars of its age, such as the Jaguar E-Type, and, in particular, the stunningly beautiful Ferraris designed by Pininfarina. This enthusiast says the Apollo is a kind of American Ferrari and very rare. The Apollo 3500 GT was intended to provide an alternative to European sports cars, which were often very costly to maintain. This American Ferrari was also powered by an American engine, a V8. Its 3.5 liters of cubic capacity produced a sporty sound and more than enough propulsion for the lightweight Apollo, which weighed just 1,000 kilos. In fourth gear, the 200 horsepower GT could hit a top speed of 210 kilometers an hour, a pretty respectable pace back in the early 1960s. Andreas Graf says the goal was to create America's answer to the Ferrari using American technology and an Italian body.
Mit amerikanischer Technik und italienischer Karosserie.
For the engine, they chose a newly developed V8 from GM's Buick Motor Division. The 3.5-liter all-aluminum engine was very light, perfect for a sports car. In spite of its mass-produced American technology, the Apollo can go like the wind. The engine sits far behind the front axle and ensures even weight distribution. No front-heavy American cruiser, the Apollo is an agile and speedy Gran Turismo that's fun to drive. The Apollo's contours are inspired by Italian design, though it's anything but a Ferrari ripoff. Its design is unique, even though it does adopt many details used in Ferrari models in the 1960s. But that's little wonder. Andreas Graf explains that the body was made in Italy and the designer was Italian. Franco Scaglione had worked for Ferrari and Bertone before. The car bodies were shipped to the US, but the costs got way out of hand. So just 70-odd Apollos were produced over the course of 6 years. 40 are thought to still be in existence today. Andreas Graf spent years looking for his Apollo. During this time, he became somewhat of a specialist on the sports car, and now advises Apollo fans and owners around the globe. Graf says the car's technology is affordable. He says all the parts are available as long as you know what car they came from. He says that the tough but special thing is the body, which was handmade at Intermechanica. The first two cars were made of aluminum, but then they realized that cost too much. After that, the cars were made from steel with aluminum hoods, trunk lids, and doors. He says it's an American Ferrari and very rare. With the help of experts and 5 years of hard work, Graf completely rebuilt his Apollo. He now owns a second Apollo, a 5000 GT with a larger engine that was installed later. It's another restoration project. Finding the right internal parts hasn't been a problem, but replacing missing or damaged parts of the bodywork is far from easy. Handiwork and improvisation are the order of the day. Graf says that in such a case you must make everything yourself. He needed a rocker panel, and they're very prone to rust in these cars, so he had to produce one from scratch himself. At the front here, he had to install a part too, which he made himself because no replacements exist. Like the Ferraris of its day, the Apollo's body was completely handmade. The traces of this are still visible in the sheet metal today. Graf says you can still see the hammer blows on the bodywork, and that even when you're restoring it, you can't be too exacting. You can really see the difference compared with factory-produced or machine-made bodies. But he says that's how things were at the time. At one point, you could even see how the parts were put together, a thing of the past.
Zusammengesetzt wurden, das hat man halt heute nicht mehr in der Art und Weise.
In the end, the Apollo proved too costly to make, and production ended in 1968. But Andreas Graf still enjoys taking his out for a spin. Although the Apollo isn't yet a high-priced collector's item, prices for these rare models have risen considerably in recent years.